We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast. And we're doing an Action Vision team coaching session today. And it's with an accounting firm. And we're going to be talking about one of their clients. And so one of their clients is on Action Vision, and a great client. They have two businesses, actually. And you guys do the taxes, but you don't do the bookkeeping. And so I think it's reinforcing the importance of accounting and bookkeeping and the financials and all of those type of things. And so in business, there's a book out there. It's called E-Myth and E-Myth Revisited, The Entrepreneurial Myth. So they go and they tell a story about somebody who was a baker. And so they wanted to go ahead and start a baking company, thinking they like baking, so they would do well in the company. You see this in construction, you see this in anything, in everything. And there's so much about business that's not about baking or construction or whatever you're doing. And so in the 530 grid, there's box 22. And so box 22 is measuring all costs. And so there's something in accounting called cost accounting. So I went ahead and took a number of accounting courses when I was in high school, a couple then, and then a number when I was in college. And one of them is cost accounting. And I thought it was, one of the coolest classes in the world. I didn't do well in the class, but I loved the concept of it. Another is going to be, box 20, which is dollar results marketing. And you guys can interrupt me at any time. I think the number one takeaway from this podcast that I would like you all to maybe internalize is that if we have the right systems and tools in place, it's a difference between a business surviving and dying. Literally, it can be. And so we won't go over the dollar results marketing this time, but maybe another time we will. In measuring all cost, it's in the servicing area, but it's measuring all the cost of what we're putting in. So do we know how much time and the cost of all of those resources for each individual client? Ideally, we would. Do we know, do we know the balance sheet and the income statements of our clients? And so I've worked with CPAs for over 30 years, CPA and accounting firms for over 30 years. And every CPA and accounting firm that I know, they would like to get into doing consulting for their clients. But they often never are able to do that. And so there was a client of ours on the East Coast, and a friend and a client, know him for years. And I said to him, I said, your clients want to pay you more money. And he said, I don't think they do. I said, no, they do. And we argued back and forth a little while. And he said, what do you mean? He said, your clients don't want to go. Like if it's a commodity, like gas prices, if it's a commodity, meaning you just use it, like gas or, anything, like bread or whatever. If it's a commodity, then your customers want to pay the least amount they can for it. But if it's an investment, then they're willing to pay more. If they look at what they're investing into you and your business as an investment, because when you get an investment and when you get a return on investment, what do you want to do? You want to invest more. He says, I never thought of that before. And he said, that's an interesting way to think about it. And so, are we a commodity or are we an investment? And then I said to him, I said, and you want to pay your employees more? And he says, do I? I said, you really do. He's like, why is that? I said, are you looking at them as a commodity? Or are you looking at it as an investment? And so we want to, like Jhon, he wants everyone on the team to earn more and to work less, have less stress, and have greater life balance. And that's why it's so important for the Life GPS mobile app for you guys to go through and look at Jhon's vision and then connect it back in. Like, what do you think? And so you do a reflection. So what do you think of the podcast, and what did you learn from it? What action are you going to take from it? And then what's your next thing you're going to learn? So a business, probably most of our parents went ahead and taught us at an early age, money doesn't grow on trees. Like, a business, to have team members earning more, a business has to have more profit. So there has to be productivity. So I think a lot of times employees, they think that, the business owner is making all kinds of money. But often the business, in most situations, businesses might make 10% profit, maybe 15. If it's 10%, you're putting $9 back in for every dollar you're taking out. You're investing a lot in, and typically biggest cost is going to be employees. Not always, but often. And so there's some consulting, some things we've done with Life Masteries Institute, in called the accounting dashboard. And this particular piece is like, what's the difference between finance and accounting? So I have my brother, he's a CPA, so he has his accounting degree. I have my finance degree. What's the difference between accounting and finance? Accounting is going to be focused in on your cost. It's going to be focused in on, obviously, your taxes, your cost. How do you keep your cost, your lowest cost? How do you do that? How do you make finance is really about leverage. It's about, okay, I have profits. What am I going to do to invest those profits back into my business or something else? And how do I get, if I'm investing something into someone, a team member, how do I get the maximum return for their benefit, for my benefit, for everybody's benefit? And so when you look at, and it's hard because you've got deadlines and taxes and you're really busy, but how do you go ahead and help a client? How do you help a client understand the value of a balance sheet? Do we understand the value of a balance sheet? And what's the difference between a balance sheet and an income statement? And are there things on the balance sheet that should concern us, or things on the balance sheet that should excite us? And the income statement, what are some things on the income statement that should concern us or excite us? And then we look at trends, like what's going up, what's going down. So key numbers, graphs, and charts. So we can look at a business, and if we look at a business in a week, it might look like our business is going up. But if we look at that business from a month to month perspective, our business is going down. But if we look at it from a year perspective or a quarter perspective, it's going up. So the numbers are not black and white. And how you interpret that numbers like, and so a lot of times I think we in the accounting field, we think that our clients really understand the balance sheet and the income statement and what's happening in the business. But the business owner is focused very largely on producing whatever they're producing, whether it's a product or service business. And they don't really watch those numbers closely, or they don't know what those numbers mean. And a lot of businesses struggle with, am I pricing things properly? Well, to properly price things, we need to know, what are the costs? What are all the costs that go into producing whatever we produce? And so I think the most important thing is for each of us to remember in the accounting field that what we do matters a lot. And as we care more about our clients and we care more about the numbers in their business, and we put systems in place to help them to see, here's some things that are going right. Here's some things that might not be going right. Like if we're losing money on a product, you never make up for it in volume. And so business is complicated. There's a lot of complexities to it. And the most important thing, and if a business, I can't even tell you how many businesses I've seen go out of business when they go from 1 million to $2 million. You'd think, well, they're going to double their sales, but they actually don't double their profit. They double their sales, their top line. So that's sales coming in. The bottom line is how much profit's coming out. And so if we're not, like this is a big issue. If we're not helping our clients do that, are we really serving them in the best way we can? So one of the things that we encourage our coaching clients in Action Vision team coaching is to put, a big piece of paper and then draw a circle and then have everybody go ahead and list, like, what do you want the client experience to be? So when Mel's in town, owner of Blue Gate, when he's in town, we talk, and he's the first business guy I've ever met that is so focused on the experience. Well, he's in large part, he's in the restaurant industry, but he's also in, the entertainment, like artists. Well, when you're doing tax returns, here's what we're doing, a tax return. Are we really concerned about that client's experience? When you're putting on a roof or you're putting up a deck or or you're doing insurance, like whatever that is. So like I really pay attention to Mel about the experience. What's the experience we're giving our clients? And so I think, like as a business owner myself, owning 9 companies, my brother's a CPA. He did our taxes for a number of years. I've worked with other CPAs and other accounting firms. And I see, like I have a heart for businesses, and I believe that accounting firms, like it just makes sense for them to go ahead and have product and service lines that go ahead and help business owners to see things that they don't see. And I think that that would bring in some amazing things, amazing opportunities for accounting firms. So hopefully you all understand how important it is what you do. You get that. You understand that. And maybe a challenge to go and say, well, how do we do even more? Like, how can we, are there clients that are struggling? Do we have clients that are struggling and we don't even know it? Because if you just do their taxes, you don't know what the day to day is. If you're doing their bookkeeping, you're going to have a better idea. But even doing both of those things, we may not really know how well our client is doing. And either how do we come up with something, or how do we partner with somebody, another company or a nonprofit organization? If we're not going to do it, okay, no problem. Let's get somebody else to go ahead and keep an eye on some of these things. So good stuff. You guys are important, very, very important after tax season. I think that's important to remember. Does anybody have any comments or questions or thoughts on what we shared today?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I would, yeah, I would really like to be helping people out more as far as the pointing out where they're going with their financial side, coaching, etc. But right now I'm I barely have time to do everything I got on my plate, so how am I supposed to do anything extra? What do I need to do different?
Well, and that's there's a lot that's there, and how do you get more? Like, is there? a system? Is there like some of the books that you guys offer, the workbooks, to where they can track things and um, and so do we do seminars during the, non-tax season? And do we invite all of our business clients to come in?
I
Do we
would
have
like
speak?
to.
Yeah, do we have speakers? So they're like, do we go ahead and like I think brainstorming about things and saying, do we create a booklet that helps to educate our customers in various areas of finance or bookkeeping or accounting? And then do we do it? Do we teach it in mass? Do we come up with a product or a service? Bach 28 process for new product development. Do we do something like a lot of times like we're getting kind of paid almost on an hourly basis. Like how much time does it go in, and how much are we generating? On some of this stuff, is it worth $1,000 an hour? Well, if you're saving them 10,000 or you've helped them out in 100,000 in another area, the amount of money you can make a business or save a business or literally save the existence of a business. So I think, Paul, there's not a black and white answer, and there's not an easy solution from my experience. I think you guys are amazing that you guys have gone through the tax season and you've continued to keep that half an hour weekly coaching session. Now that we just finished up the tax season, are there things that we can do, whether it's a seminar or workshop? Do we invite them to call in, and do we go ahead and do something where we do a series of even audio training on things? So you're in a good position, Paul, where you've seen it for a while now. What are some of the common mistakes that people are making in their bookkeeping, or what are some of the common things that business owners are being messed up on? Like they don't know. So I
Under
think that,
communication, expecting us to know what goes on in their daily
right,
day-to-day operations.
right, right. And maybe what we can do is, so I've helped develop a financial freedom workbook for Compass Accounting. And so, that might be something you guys take a look at. Obviously, you wouldn't do that, but you could take a lot from there and then put your own spin on it. You could say, hey, here are some things that we did. And, probably you could take 80% of that booklet, and then you guys put your own twist on it, your own thing on what you want to do. And then people are going to be able to read it, look through it. And if you can, anytime you're talking to a client, anytime you're educating a client, anytime you're explaining something to a client, often you don't charge the client anything for that. You're not making any money for that, and it's costing, but you've got to do it because they've got to know, was there a more efficient way to do that? And, through booklets and through training or group training or workshops or something like that. So I think, Paul, if you bring it up every week on this Action Vision team coaching session, like what should we do, for this month, and what should we do next month? And so what can we put in place over the non-tax season to have a better educated client? Because a better educated client is going to go ahead and be easier to service because they understand more, and you're going to be able to give them better service too. So it's a great question, Paul, that I think you bring it up every week, and that'll move the ball down the field. Great question, Paul. Any follow up on that, Paul? Does that get it started at least?
Yeah, that gets me started, gets me thinking a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
So Anita, probably we can drop off some of the financial freedom books, and you guys can talk to your EVAs and Action Vision coaches about, what would you like to change in that? How would you like it to be different than what it is? And you guys could use that kind of as a base, as a template. So nice. Nice. Anybody else have anything else? Okie dokie. Well, hopefully this has been helpful. If you have any questions on anything we covered today, feel free to connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300 outside the US 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.